apart from these regulations, is there any industry-related guidelines that are followed?
In solars, there will be another requirement, but in IGC code, you can see it is not the same.
No interaction with the atmosphere.
No interaction, no interaction with the atmosphere. It is totally enclosed system.
In case tank entry is required, can you tell us how that's carried out?
The cargo vapor inside by using this inert gas, mainly nitrogen, and this is a negative reflecting to the company also.
Is containment system?
Yes, they do. According to the volatility of the cargo, their containment system is different.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers. On behalf of the Nautical Institute Sri Lanka branch, I am Captain Nalaka Babapulle. As a continuation of the Nautical Institute Youth Forum's efforts of sharing maritime knowledge, I am pleased to present the first of our interactive videos in place of our monthly webinars. Today we will be discussing about a specialized field in our industry, which is the gas tanker trade. And to share their vast experience with us, I have two very special gentlemen here with me today. Let me first introduce Captain Prasad Alwis, currently serving as the DPA at Laughs Maritime Services with almost 30 years experience sailing on gas tankers. Welcome, Captain Prasad.
Thank you, Captain Nalaka.
We also have with us today Captain Sisila Dharmawansa, a master sailing on gas tankers for more than 27 years, and he also holds a BSc in Supply Chain Management and Logistics. Welcome, Captain Sisila.
Thank you, Captain Nalaga.
So to start off right from the basics, Captain Prasad, can you tell us what is a gas tanker?
Basically, a gas tanker is a specialized ship which carries liquefied gases in bulk. When you say liquefied gases, they are mainly liquefied petroleum gases, liquefied natural gases, chemical gases, and other cargoes such as ammonia, liquid ammonia, liquid chlorine. Those are mainly the type of cargo that carries on gas tankers.
Are all gas tankers of a similar design, or there are different types of gas tankers in use?
The gas tankers are categorized according to the temperature of cargo carrying, the pressure, and also the type of cargo carries on them.
So do they require any specialized containment system?
Yes, they do. According to the volatility of the cargo, their containment system is different. So when you say types of gas carriers, I would say there are about 5 main types of gas carriers, namely fully pressurized gas carriers, semi-pressurized gas carriers, fully refrigerated gas carriers, LNG carriers, and also the ethylene carriers. Those are typically the main 5 types of gas carriers.
Moving on, Captain Sisila, can you tell us, are there any special requirements that apply to gas tankers in addition to those that are applicable to all vessels?
Yes, indeed. SOLAS is set out all regulations for all the ships. But when we talk about gas tankers, IGC codes come into action. Why? IGC code is set out all the regulations required for safety, construction, and carrying of cargo in gas tankers. It's, for example, with regard to safety, number of BA sets, breathing apparatus, in a normal ships and a gas tanker. In SOLAS, there will be another requirement, but in IGC code, you can see it is not the same. So in this case, we have to follow the IGC code in a gas tanker. That is important. Not only that, construction of cargo tanks, type of cargoes, everything is laid out in IGC code. So IGC code is the main regulation part for a gas tanker.
Okay. So apart from these regulations, is there any industry-related guidelines that are followed?
Yes, there are so many organizations like OCIMF, Intertanko, SIGTO. These are setting out their industry best practices and regulations requirements to follow all the tankers. Main target is to carry out high standard of safety and high standard of operating systems. So we have to follow all these requirements also.
Thank you, Captain Sisila. So, Captain Prasad, let's talk about cargo operations. What's different about the cargo operations on a gas tanker as compared to other tankers?
Yes, Naraka. As you know, there are three types of tankers: oil tankers, chemical tankers, and gas tankers. The gas tankers differs from the oil tankers, the operations of gas tankers. Mainly, the operations of gas tankers are carried out in a totally enclosed system, cargo system. So, gas cargoes are not supposed to escape from the system. I mean, that is totally enclosed system. That is the main difference between the oil tanker and gas tanker. It's totally enclosed cargo system.
No interaction with the atmosphere.
No interaction, no any interaction with the atmosphere.
I see. So, apart from loading and discharging, are there any other routinely carried out operations on gas tankers?
Yes, after loading also, after loading until cargo discharging, the cargo should be maintained. When I say cargo, that means cargo temperature and the cargo pressure to be maintained throughout the passage for the mainly for the safety reasons and also the commercial reasons.
So, can you tell us what are the consequences of not being able to do so?
So, if you don't maintain the cargo temperatures and the pressures, especially the pressure, there is a risk of cargo overfilling and also the overpressurization of the cargo tanks.
How does a crew manage the temperature of the cargo during a voyage if required?
Cargo temperatures and pressures are maintained mainly using the cargo reliquefaction plant. That's an inbuilt plant. Other than the fully pressurized ships, almost all other gas tankers, they have their reliquefaction plant fitted on them according to the IGC code, requirements of the IGC code.
Can you tell us how cargo loading and discharging is carried out on gas tankers, how it differs from cargo operations on other vessels?
Well, cargo are loaded to the ship or discharged from the ships to the shore using the shore loading arm. Sometimes we use the hard arms, or sometimes we use the approved type flexible cargo hoses. Those cargo loading arm or the cargo hose is connected to the ship's manifold. This is opening on ship's pipeline. So they are connected. So when you are loading, shore pumps, they pump the cargo to the ship. When you are discharging, ships they pump the cargo to the shore through the cargo manifold.
So who is responsible for safely carrying out these operations?
Usually the in charge of cargo operation is the chief officer of the ship. But he carries out under the supervision of master.
And from the terminal side?
From the terminal side, the designated person is the loading master. He is the responsible for the cargo operations from the shore side.
So, Captain Sisila, after discharging, we understand that there is still cargo vapor inside the tanks. In case tank entry is required, can you tell us how that's carried out?
Yes. Now, first of all, we are talking about gas tanks. So these are totally enclosed and there are no openings. So we cannot go inside. This is a total enclosed space. So we cannot go inside a tank straight away. We have a big procedure to follow up to enter our cargo tank. That we have to do gas freeing operation. In briefly, I can explain gas freeing that in short way we can say we have to remove the whatever the cargo vapors inside and make the atmosphere in the tank breathable. It's safe to enter for a man. For that we have to use inert gas. Normally we are using nitrogen, either nitrogen plant in our own ships, or otherwise we have to go to a port and take nitrogen from a port facility. So we have to remove the cargo vapor inside by using this inert gas, mainly nitrogen, and then the nitrogen we have to remove by breathable air, because nitrogen, of course, everybody knows we cannot breathe nitrogen also, so we have to introduce breathable air to the cargo tanks. Then only it's safe to enter, right? And there are a lot of this is a big procedure. It's not a very we cannot do it very quickly. It takes time, and you have to do it in very controlled manner, and taking a lot of parameters, and then you have to check all the atmosphere levels, the oxygen levels and everything, and you have to make sure 100% that it is safe to do so, to enter for a man. It's a very critical operation and it's a very important fact. And normally we don't need to enter a cargo tank, because it's a this is a, in gas tankers, this is a not like the other, for example, bulk carrier. We don't need to go into a like in hatch. There is no, you don't have to look at the hatch and see whether it's suitable for cargo operations or not, because it's an enclosed thing. So like for example, dry docking purpose, of course, if you go to a dry dock, then you have to make sure that there is no flammable vapors or hazard cargo inside cargo tanks, and has to be gas free and suitable for man entry, because in dry docks you have to go in the tanks and inspect tanks, or otherwise we have to use do this procedure for grade change. This is for not to be cargo contamination, right? If you are changing one grade to another grade which is not compatible to each other, then you have to do this procedure also. So these are the occurrences that we have to do, gas freeing and entering into a cargo tank.
And are there any additional documents that you need on gas tankers when it comes to cargo work?
Yeah, well, normally the cargoes are very expensive cargoes, so the precise calculation is very important. So normally chief officer and the independent surveyor together taking all the parameters, temperatures, pressures and all the other parameters, and we have to do this calculation very precisely. Plus there are sometimes we have to use inhabitors, so then you have to have the inhabitor certificates and informations, and then the MSDS is very important when we're talking about gas cargoes, and then quantity and quality certificates. These type of documentations we are usually using in after loading operations, and we have to submit this in discharging ports.
So Captain Prasad mentioned before that the loading master is responsible for safely carrying out the operation from the terminal side. Can you tell us how you cooperate with the terminal during a cargo operation?
Yes, Captain Nalaka. Now this cooperation will start even before ships come to the port, right? So first of all, for a discharging or loading operation, before go to the port, you have to exchange the information from the ship side and the shore side. So for example, the cargo arm connection sizes, the cargo temperatures available, and any other special requirements or whatever there's these information we have to exchange. And this is the place we are starting cooperation with the loading or discharging terminal. Then once we go alongside, safely moved, and the first thing before starting everything, we have this ship shore safety checklist, and this is a meeting with normally chief officer from the ship side and the loading master from the terminal side, discussing how this operation is going to be carried out. This includes the cargo details, safety details, and even without like this is the can be security details. Everything is included here. So the ship side and the shore side is passing each other all the information is required, and they agreed. Then this has to be documented also. Then they agreed and documented, and then only everything is happy. I mean, both parties happy. Then we can go ahead with the cargo operations.
So is this safety checklist a one-time thing that is just carried out before the operation, or does it need to be rechecked?
It's a good question. Now, the first safety checklist we have to complete it, and there is a part of safety checklist has to be completed, like you have to agree like every 2 hours or every 6 hours or every 8 hours, like we call repetitive checks. So once agreed within this time period, both parties, again these points you have to check again.
From both sides?
Both sides you have to check. And in case if you are not happy with the one point, then immediately you have to take action. This action can be stopping of cargo operation even, because the safety is very important when you are talking about cargo operations regarding gas tankers. So in these repetitive checks is also very important. And end of the operations, you have to close the checklist, and we have to keep this as a evidence for future appearance.
So talking about safety aspects, Captain Prasad, can you tell us the primary hazards associated with gas carrier cargo handling?
Yes, as most of people are aware, the main hazard of the liquefied gases are the fire and the explosion. So other than the fire and explosions, there is risk of cargo leakage, and also reactivity hazards. And also when you come to the health hazards, there is a risk of getting cold or chemical burns. It is there. And also there are another hazard is asphyxiation. Due to the volatility of this cargo, and also it's not supporting life. So asphyxiation is also another one. So these are mainly the main hazards of the cargo, I would say.
When talking about fire and explosion risks, how would the crew minimize these risks during cargo handling and also during a voyage?
See, most of the people are scared of gas tankers. But from my experience, I would say that gas tankers are one of the most safest ships in the field. Why I am saying is that if you look at the history of the gas tankers, there are very, very minimum number of gas tanker disasters. So the reason for that is that there are so many regulations applied to the gas tankers, starting from the IGC code. So IGC code, they sets out all the required standards. So IGC code sets down all the required regulations, and so they minimize all the fire precautions, fire hazards. So I would say they are one of the safest ships in this field, because the IGC code, the statutory requirement is so high in so high standard, and those regulations prevent any major disasters, and they are one of the safest ships. Other than the regulations, there are a lot of industrial practices. All these practices, the people are very experienced, people are qualified. So due to all these scenarios, all these standards, the incidents and accidents of the gas tankers are very minimum. So when you say, Nalaka, gas tankers are safer ships, I should give some example. For example, let's say a gas tanker firefighting system. In addition to the normal fire main system on gas tankers, we have fixed firefighting system on deck, fixed dry powder system on deck. And in addition to the fixed dry powder system, there is a deck spray system. So these two main fixed fire systems are in addition to the fire main system. And also there's an ESD system, fitted on ships on deck. From a single point, you can shut down all the cargo operations and close all the cargo valves from a single point. So that feature is there. And also there is measures to prevent overflowing or the overpressurizing of the cargo tanks, such as let's say when the cargo level is come to 95%, they give the warning alarms. When the cargo level comes to 98% of the cargo tank, the cargo valve will shut down, so automatically shut down. These systems are there to make gas tankers more safe. And also when you say the practices, the people are well trained. The people sail on gas tankers, so nobody can use any nobody can use any equipment which are not intrinsically safe. And also there are a lot of practices. You can't smoke on deck, you can't use any naked flyers on deck. So likewise, there are so many practices to follow on gas tankers. When you say smoking, even smoking, smoking is restricted to some specified locations only. So there are many features to make the gas tankers safe. So that's why we have a very good history on gas tankers when it comes to the incidents and accidents.
Are there any challenges that you have faced during adverse weather when handling gas carriers?
Yes, especially during loading and discharging operations, we have to take special measures, such as that if the weather is so rough, we have to stop the cargo operations to prevent cargo leakages. And also if the weather is like,
could you explain a little bit more when you say cargo leakage during adverse weather?
Yeah, when the weather is rough, ship is moving alongside the pier, the cargo arm or the flexible hose can be parted. So in that case, cargo might escape to the atmosphere.
Do you carry out cargo operations during periods of lightning as well?
Negative. Due to the fire risk, we don't do that. When there's lightning, we stop the cargo operations immediately.
Captain Sisila, you mentioned before that the IGC code sets out additional requirements for gas tankers. When it comes to safety equipment, can you elaborate a little bit more? What type of equipment are carried additionally?
Yes, in a gas tanker, the safety equipment is very important. We have a high standard of safety to have to maintain all the time. So we have additional safety equipments like apart from fireman system on deck. Every ships we have fireman system, but in a gas tanker you will find fixed dry powder system, dry chemical powder, fixed firefighting system. In addition, you will find emergency showers, emergency eye washers, and then sometimes, not only sometimes, it's mandatory, the gas suits. The normal ships you don't find gas suits, you have only fire suits, right? And then additional BA sets, which I mentioned earlier also, sometimes the requirement is higher, carrying additional BA sets. Then some gas tankers have deck spray systems like sprinkler system, deck spray, we call it deck spray. And this is connected to the emergency shutdown system. Emergency shutdown system, if I explain a little bit, you will have push buttons available on the deck throughout in convenient places. If you see something going on, something wrong with the cargo operation, anyone can press this button and then whole cargo's operation will be shut down. And this can be connected sometimes with the deck spray system automatically start, right? So if someone press the emergency shutdown button, then if it is connected together to deck spray system, then deck spray also will activate. This is in one way, there are carrying some cargoes like propylene oxide. This is a requirement, in fact. You have to have this system. That's why it's ships giving this opportunity, the capability of connecting it or you can have it disconnect or connect it, right? So that's the specialty of normal ships and the gas tankers. When you're talking about safety equipment, we have additionally a lot of safety equipments than the normal ships have.
If I were to say hypothetically, if gas entered the living spaces of the accommodation, is there any measure in place for the crew to escape?
Yes. Now, first of all, in cargo operations time and normally living spaces, so-called accommodation spaces, we are keeping positive pressure. When cargo operations in port, we are keeping positive pressure. So to avoid any cargo vapor entering into the atmosphere, accommodation atmosphere. This is the first thing. And then the lifeboats. When we talk about lifeboat in gas tankers, we have fully enclosed lifeboats with positive air pressure system and the fire sprinkler system for the outside lifeboat. So this is also not you cannot find in a normal cargo ship. So then moreover, we have EEBDs. This is a personal breathing device. You have each and every cabin, we have a one. So with having a like 10 minutes air supply. So in case of toxic vapor release or some sort of a smoke situation, cargo vapor release, this we have to use to escape up to the lifeboat using this EBD. So we have a personal safety equipment in every cabin. This is like a life jacket in the other ships. Extra, you have the life jacket, then the immersion suit and the EBD in your cabin.
So to comply with all these safety regulations, we know PSC is carried out on all ships. Apart from PSC on gas tankers, do we have any additional inspections?
Yes, Nalaka. Now, this is one of the interesting part when we talking about gas tankers, the inspection. We have wetting inspections, CDI inspections, the wetting so-called SIRE, ship inspection report, this we call in SIRE. So why these are introduced? To again maintain the high standard of safety and the operational systems. So in wetting and CDI inspections, say all the requirements and the crew knowledge, crew efficiency knowledge and will be checked. It will be thoroughly checked. There are specialized auditors, so they come and they have a questionnaires. So they follow the questionnaire and they go through all the systems, including from the bridge to the engine room, cargo spaces, cargo operation systems, checklists, everything. How we are following it? Are we doing it correct? Is it? Is there any lapse? So this is why these introduced. SIRE inspections are carried out by oil majors, because oil majors, they want always to identify the standard of ships. Now you can't operate a gas tanker just put a just normal, just crew and not like other ship. You have to have a always monitoring their standard. So the oil majors, every time they have to assess how is the quality of the ship's operating system. So they have to have a system. That's why they have introduced this vetting program, SIRE program, to evaluate the standard of ships. Then they can decide whether they are hiring the ship. This is actually, they have a commercial impact of this SIRE inspection.
So this is a commercial requirement as opposed to a mandatory requirement.
It's a mainly commercial requirement, but this is now become a mandatory. Otherwise you cannot have a business.
Practically you wouldn't be able to
operate the ship. So that's why all the gas tanker companies, the owners, operators, they required very high standard crew, and they have to up to date knowledge and maintain the equipment the system, ISM system or whatever the systems, they have to maintain it very well, because you like every 3 months, every 4 months, you have to have a SIA inspection.
So what would be the consequences of not being able to comply with the requirements?
Right. It's basically it's happening like this. Now, when you have a SIA inspection, you will get observations, right? If you find something not correct, something not operating properly, or somebody has done some mistake or something, then they will put as an observation. This observation can be a minor or major observation. So depending on that, then of course the company and the ships get the chance to explain, give the explanation for it, how it happened, why it happened, and then the corrective actions, right? So this is the interesting part. Now, so if you get an observation, you have to justify that why it happened. Then you have to give a plan how to correct it. Then the oil major have the opportunity and to understand whether this is of course just a small thing and it's okay for them, or whether this is a major thing and they are not accepting it. So, and then they might reject the ship. So then the consequence is you will not get the cargo from these oil majors. So then it is a commercial impact, and it is not the it will be, this is go to the OCMF website, and then the other oil majors also can see this happen on this ship, and this is a negative reflecting to the company also. So the companies are very interesting and very keen on this SIA inspection, and because they have to maintain their profile, right? So if one of their ships is getting bad SIA observation, bad report, it's reflecting, it is impact to the entire fleet. So that's why this is very critical, and these days all the gas tanker companies hiring high standard of crew. They have to have a very high standard, and they are having a lot of training programs, a lot of CBTs to keep up their knowledge, and it is actually it is in. So this is the situation.
So let's move on to crew qualifications. Captain Prasad, we mentioned before that this is a specialized field. How does one become an officer or an engineer on gas tankers?
So if you want to become an officer or engineer on gas tanker, first you have to do the basic gas course, gas familiarization course as per the CCW, and then you have to sail as either trainee officer or a supernumerary with that certificate.
For how long would that period be?
That is usually 3 months as a rating, or a additional officer or a supernumerary. You have to sail for 3 loading operations and 3 discharging operations. Then after completing those requirements, then you have to go back to college again, and you have to do the gas advanced course. Then only you can get the COP from the administration to sail, to actively engage on cargo operations as a officer or an engineer.
So another thing we hear about is the crew matrix. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, crew matrix is a requirement of the oil majors for the SIA inspection and things like that.
So another commercial requirement.
Commercial requirement. So these companies, these oil majors, they expect you to have the minimum number of months or the years of experience for their officers, for the officers on gas tanks, officers or the engineers on gas tankers.
Sort of like an average amount of experience, is it?
Yes, average split account let's say for example,
for the deck department.
The deck department, the master and the chief officer must have so many months of collective minimum months of collective sea time. Nice. So you can't have a fresh chief officer and fresh master. If the chief officer is fresh, master should be should be a well experienced person, and same goes with the chief engineer and second engineer. Also, that's same applies to the chief engineer and second engineer as well.
When talking about the senior ranks, can you tell us, are there any special duties that the master, the chief engineer, the chief officer on a gas tanker would have to carry out?
When you say master, he must have a vast experience on gas tankers because he is the overall in charge of the ship. So he must have a vast experience on the gas tank operations and also the documentation. The chief officer is also same. He is in charge of cargo operations, so he should know what he is doing, and also the safety wise, he has to prepare. I mean, he has to train the crew for the chief. He has to train the crew as well, and also same goes with the chief engineer and second engineer also, because as engineers we have special gas tank equipment like cargo pumps, compressors, condensers, other than the normal engine room machineries.
So who would take care of the maintenance of the cargo equipment? Is it done by the chief officer or the chief engineer?
Usually chief engineer is in charge of the maintenance of all the cargo machineries and equipments, but chief officer do the day-to-day maintenance. But when it comes to the periodic maintenance, that is the chief engineer is in charge, usually in most of the companies, I would say.
Captain Sisila, we hear about a role that we don't see on other ships, and that is the role of the gas engineer. What is his responsibility on board?
Well, Nalaka, the gas engineer actually is one of engineer, right? He is under chief engineer supervision. As Captain Prasad said, chief engineer is the overall in charge of the machinery part of the cargo plant. And chief engineer, if you have a gas engineer, because some ships doesn't have gas engineer, right? Chief engineer is designated one engineer, gas engineer is to maintain, look after cargo plant. So his duties when before cargo operation, set up the plant, the cargo plant, make sure whether everything is in order, and when plant is running on, he has to take parameters and make sure that his machines are operating under the parameters, and maintenance part. Sometimes you have to have the annual overhauls or running hours overhauls or these kind of things. Also, the gas engineer is responsible for carrying out under supervision of chief engineer. But chief officer is the in charge of cargo operation, loading or discharging operation, and gas engineer is directly reporting to chief engineer plus chief officer in case of need to operate, I mean, let's say need to stop cargo plant or something, then he has to inform, of course, chief officer also, because he's managing the cargo operations with the shore.
So can you give us a few reasons why a younger seafarer should choose a career on gas tankers?
Yes, indeed. Now, this is actually, of course, when you come to sea, seafaring is a challenging profession, right? So I would like to say that when you employ in a gas tanker field, it's even more challenging, right? If somebody wants to take this challenge, you should choose the tanker, right? Plus, you get shorter contracts, especially when you become senior officer. It's very attractive contract, right? From with considering the wages, you get very lucrative wages with comparing to the other cargo ships, plus the contract duration. Normally, if senior officer, normally in gas tanker, you get like 2 months or 3 months contract, but some other ships it probably can be like 6-7 months. Even for junior officers, it is like 4 to 5 months contract, comparing 7-8 months contract in other ships. So you can earn more money, plus you will be having short contract, and then your knowledge will be, you have to keep it update. It is a challenging career, I mean challenging when you're working in a gas tanker. So I would like to say, if somebody energetic, young, why not selecting a gas tanker?
Would you say there are sufficient vacancies for qualified crew in Sri Lanka?
Yes, actually, with the crisis, the current world situation, there is some kind of a drop, but still, if you are qualified, and for senior officers, I would rather like to say it's not that, very easy to find jobs. The companies are looking for seniors, especially with the matrix, as Captain Prasad earlier explained. The matrix, if you have the enough matrix, very easy you can find a new job, new companies. For young junior officers also, there are now in Sri Lanka, the gas tanker field is coming up. There are a few manning agencies recruiting Sri Lankan junior officers for gas tankers. Of course, you have to have some sort of entry test, because they wanted to find out your knowledge level, because as I explained earlier, they are very keen on their operating systems. You have to face the vetting inspection and those kind of things. So be prepared for that, and then you face the exams, these entry exams. Now most of the companies, it's a familiar, normal thing now. When you get through, then yes, I don't think there is a difficulty to find jobs, and then you can move on. Once you enter, this is not big deal to find, and moving on, and it will be very fast track, I can say.
So in closing, I would like to ask each of you, would you say you are satisfied with the career path you have chosen? And what advice would you have for our young seafarers who would want to follow in your footsteps? Captain Prasad?
Yes, of course. To be honest, I'm very proud of my profession, my career. And also, I think I have sailed only on gas tankers. But I would say it's a great profession and a great field, great industry, gas carriers. It's challenging sometimes. It's hard work, a challenging job. But I'm quite satisfied, and if anybody into the seafaring, I highly recommend the gas carriers.
Yeah, I totally agree with Captain Prasad. Same. I also started as a cadet in the gas tanker and came up all the way up to the master now. So it's if I look back, it's very interesting. I have learned a lot and come across so many situations. Again, learn from the situations, cargo operations, port operations, inspections. So this when you go on board, this 3 months, sometimes it's very fast. You will not feel like that. You will be busy and you will very fast. So it's I kind of enjoying. I mean, when I come home, it's I go on board and quickly go 3 months, and then I'm back in home again. So I'm enjoying my career. Plus, I'm back in home also. My mind is very relaxed. So why not you selecting gas tankers? I think one of the I have done the correct thing, and I enjoying and highly recommending anybody energetic enthusiasm. Please select the gas tankers. You will be having a bright future.
To conclude today's video, on behalf of the Nautical Institute Sri Lanka Branch Youth Forum, I would like to thank Captain Prasad Alwis and Captain Sisila Dharmawansa for taking time off your busy schedules to be with us here today.
Thank you, Captain Nalaka, for inviting us to this discussion. But I should add that this is a very brief discussion only. Gas tanker advanced safety course itself is a 10-day program. So we have to share a lot of things in that program. So this is a brief discussion. Anyway, thank you again for inviting us.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Captain Nalaka, for the opportunity. And as Captain Prasad said, it's a very brief discussion. So Hope our young viewers have learned something. And again, thanks. Thank you very much.
So that brings us to the conclusion of today's discussion. We hope you have found it informative, and on behalf of the Nautical Institute Sri Lanka Branch Youth Forum, I would like to thank all of our viewers. Until we meet again, thank you.